All right, thank you. Once again, we are back in open council. At this time, we do not have a report coming out of closed. Our next item of business is a report from the fire chief, and that is on engine replacement.
Thank you, Your Worship. Members of council, at the fire committee meeting in May, we brought up that supply chain issues and various other issues are delaying the delivery of fire apparatus over 2 years. To develop the specification for a truck takes a period of time as well. We're looking to start speccing a replacement engine for one of the two that were purchased at the same time, so that we're purchasing one and then have time to put some money into reserves for the second one when it needs to be replaced in 2028. So the report you have in front of you is basically for informational purposes, that we're going to start looking at speccing the first engine that needs to be replaced a little bit ahead of schedule.
Any questions from council to the chief on this? Councillor Cornell.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Chief Anhill, and I realize that the policy is 25 years of service, but I'm sure that that time frame could be extended given the limited amount that these pieces of equipment are actually used. I understand that some parts requirements and whatnot here now and then, but the 25 years is not a mandatory thing. It's just a recommendation, is it not?
It's a little bit of a gray area. The fire underwriters and insurance companies do a survey wanting to know how old your equipment is. Once you get beyond the 25 years, and the equipment that is used much more frequently than ours is usually replaced at 15. We push it to the 25-year mark. But there's no mandatory requirement. But we're starting to see issues with our equipment now, and they're at the 19 and 20-year mark. Valves that don't get exercised as frequently as possible, we're seeing issues with that. Those are the kind of things on a day-to-day basis. But I think where it really comes into is the insurance charges, the premiums that people pay.
And I appreciate that, but for me, it comes into the stress that's placing on the capital budget, which I think we also need to take into consideration, given some of the other projects that are underway and where that may end up. So just a thought that I wanted to see whether or not it is mandatory, or if the service of these trucks could be extended by. Thank you.
Other questions? Councillor Keogh.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Greg, do you know off the top of your head how many engine hours or what the mileage on the first one that you'd like to replace?
No, the engines don't show the hours. Okay. I don't off the top of my head know the number of kilometers, but I can get that information.
That would be, I think that would be appreciative, because I think it really should be brought to light just how, as a small municipality, how underused these vehicles are versus a more metropolitan area where I could see scheduled and recommended replacement, but the vehicles we have now, I would say probably half of them would be training hours and parades, the amount of time that's spent on them. But anyhow, if you can look into that for us, report back, that would be just
can I send that by email to you tomorrow?
All of council, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Other questions? Deputy Mayor Hodgins.
Through you, Mayor Rob, to Rick. I see this as a 2004, so if we're gonna start the process now, 2006, it'll be a 22-year-old engine by the time we replace it. Will it be traded in? Is that the way, I'm not sure you can do this on. Is it will be a trade-in for that one, or sold private?
I'm not really sure what the value of a vehicle that's got 2 or 3 years of shelf life. We would probably put it on the government auction website and see what we get for it. But at that point, we're like, there's no guarantee We have a couple of potential local buyers.
Okay, there was one other question. No, I'll let go there, thanks.
Okay. Other questions from council? No other questions from council? All right, at this time, we recommend a motion that council receive the report entitled Begin Process of Replacing Engine for Information. Moved by Councillor Canellison, seconded by Councillor Daigle. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Greg. Next one is a report from the manager of facilities and recreation, the YMCA agreement.
Mayor Ott, members of council, this report is on the renewal for the YMCA agreement. This was supposed to be a longer term. However, the YMCA did not want to enter a strict revenue sharing model, which is the future I intend for them to go towards, which basically eliminates the management fee altogether and just a straight profit share. They aren't opposed to it. They just felt they had 80% growth across last year and they couldn't project far enough because everyone was returning from COVID and they asked for one more year before going to that. So this is just their standard agreement with a 1% increase.
Questions? No questions on this? We have a recommendation in front of us, and that is that council recommends that the YMCA agreement be renewed for a 1-year term at a 1% increase to the management fee for a total management fee of $53,966.24. Moved by Councillor Day, second by Councillor Irwin. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Brandon. Next one is a report from the manager of infrastructure and operations, the Parkville Water System Improvement Project.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. Good evening, mayors, members of council. The report before you tonight recommends increasing the construction contract value with 3X Construction Inc. by $1,575,000 for a total contract value of $9,603,987.68. This project involves placing approximately 2.5 kilometers of water main, other infrastructure improvements on Main Street. The project is designed by SEMA Plus Engineering in 2021 and 2022. This project did receive grant funding through the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program. The council approved awarding the construction contract to 3X Construction Inc. Back in August 2022. The value of that contract was just over $8 million. And construction began in October 2022. It's currently ongoing and an anticipated completion date in the summer/fall 2023. So the construction project teams determined that the project's forecasted to go over the original contract price due to unforeseen additional costs and an insufficient project contingency to cover the additional costs. And the additional 1.575 million is required to be added to the contract with 3X in order to bring this project to completion. So I outlined a few of the reasons for the cost increase within the report, which I'll briefly go over. One of them being that this project was set up with an insufficient contingency allowance. Typically, construction projects of this nature carry a 10% contingency, but this project only had a $200,000 contingency, which represents about 2.5%. So we were a bit short there to begin with. Some of the other major items that I highlighted, there was some unforeseen road reconstruction work. The plan with the project wasn't to do a full road reconstruction, but it was just to basically remove the asphalt and curb in the section of the road that wasn't impacted by the new water main. But during construction, it was found to be deficient. It didn't meet current standards. So there is some significant cost there. That cost is for the county because the road is their asset. So they will be covering that portion. Another one of the major items was an unidentified storm drain, which we encountered from Ellen Street to Elgin Field. And there was a lot of lateral connections into that had to be reconnected, and a lot of time material went into that piece of work. And then generally there was just has been a significant volume of change orders and unanticipated additional work and unforeseen circumstances that have accumulated on this project. So the recommended contract price increase will be funded through a combination of the grant funding, municipal reserves, and Middlesex County cost sharing. There's a table within the report that summarizes those costs. And it's important to note that our grant funding is capped out. Those are maximum numbers that we got through our grant. So we can't get additional funds from the senior level of government. So those aren't available. And in conclusion, the contract price increase is necessary to ensure the successful completion of the project. And as noted, the additional funds required are primarily due to unforeseen costs and insufficient project contingency. Once the project's completed, we will bring back a final project report, a financial summary for council's information, and I'm available to answer any questions or provide further clarification.
All right, thank you. Councillor Keough, then Councillor Nerda.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Jaden, insufficient contingency amount, typically 10%, what outlined here. In the bids and tenders contract that was sent out that all eligible contractors could see, did we put the 200,000 on, or was the 200,000 already in the contract?
So typically we would already identify that within the tender documents.
Okay.
It would just be a line item that's already pre-filled. So we determine the number.
So with that, BREX would be well aware that 200,000 would fairly well be the cap.
Correct.
So they're coming to the well for more.
Yeah. So
Correct.
we've certainly overrun
What
that
I'm getting
number.
at. So really, they just kind of want out of our agreement and they want more money.
So through the mayor, to the councillor, through the conditions of the contracts, when there is additional work or extra work, the contractor is entitled to payment for that when it's valid and it's confirmed by the engineer and the contract administrator. So they don't necessarily bear all the risk of covering the costs for unforeseen work for these types of projects.
Okay.
Other question, Councillor Nerda.
Jason, so I just have a question. So is it the county and our responsibility to come up with the $1.575 million then extra? Because there's no more room for grants, correct?
That's correct.
So if my math is correct, do we have to come up with 209,000? Is that what
So that's what's identified in the table right now. And that's an estimate in how things all work out. That's why we committed to bringing back a report on how things all work out, because there's still, we still have to get to the end of the project.
so that number could be higher?
Could be higher, could be lower.
Thank you.
Other questions, Councillor Canellison.
Jaden, you mentioned something about the change of work orders and the unanticipated costs. Is that not part of a design flaw by the engineering designing company corporation?
Through the mayor, it could be design issues. It could be something that we didn't know about, that wasn't identified in any of our records. Certainly with it being an older corridor with a lot of history, there have been a lot of things that weren't identified properly. So there's certainly, I guess, delays and extra work to deal with a lot of those unforeseens. Some of it may be design related as well.
A couple more questions. This increase, I'm assuming they just came to us and said, sorry, municipality, but we're gonna charge you 1.5 million more. Or is this negotiated? Was it itemized? Was it negotiated, or is it just, here's an invoice, pay it?
It wasn't all, sorry, through the mayor. It wasn't all at once. The change orders have been accumulating through every payment certificate that we do monthly. And as those have accumulated, and as some of the more major items have been added on, we've started to talk about budget more carefully and looking at it more closely. It's certainly not we didn't get a large bill for everything all at once. It's been an accumulation, and we just recognize that we need to bring this back to council before we get to a point where we don't have the funds available. So in order to keep the project moving, we're bringing this forward now.
One final question, and I'm not sure that you're even employed by municipality at the time that this process took place. But you indicated that there's like a 2% contingency fund where typically it's 10%. Who recommended the 2% versus the 10% contingency? How did that happen?
Through the mayor, I don't have the background on how that was decided, but it's up to the municipality, and we would work with our engineering consultant to determine that value.
We're back to the engineering consultants. Thank you.
Other questions, Councillor Irwin?
To you, your worship. So looking at items 2, 3, and 4 in your report, that's where the cost increases are. Do we have any breakout of the additional cost? What percentage was item 2? What percentage was item 3? What percentage was item 4?
Through the mayor, I can provide some figures there. The unforeseen road reconstruction, item 2, the total estimated value of that one, it's still ongoing, but we anticipate that's approximately $550,000. The number 3, the unidentified storm drain removal, that's approximately $200,000. And the just all of the change order and extra work, I believe that makes up the balance.
800 plus.
Go ahead.
Thank you. A follow-up question. So my experience with construction, there has been quite a bit actually. Usually change orders are additions at owner's house. What percentage of these change orders were additions that we asked?
Through the mayor, we do have to approve all of the change orders. The way it works in construction and in the field often is it's dealt with on site with our representative, who's a site inspector from SEMA Plus and the construction crews. So when additional or extra work arises, they would record that in a daily work record document, and then reach an agreement on site and sign off on it, reconcile it, and then that would come back to the sort of the project management staff, who would then review it and formalize it in a document. So a lot of it isn't driven by us. There are other things that have been, but the majority of it is issues that have just been encountered. But all change orders do have to get approval by the owner.
Yeah, thank you, your worship. I'm familiar with the process of change orders. So it sounds to me like most of this was unforeseen, not change orders that driven by the owners ourselves.
Through the mayor, that's correct.
Other questions?
Not a question, your worship, but just simply an observation for council. When we look at the Elsa Craig water main replacement project in future, we're tearing up an old road and we'll be facing similar circumstances, I suspect.
I think if you tear up any town in Ontario, we will have similar circumstances. You know, stuff that isn't mapped or isn't on current maps and stuff that we have. So, is there other questions from council? No other questions? Anything you want to add, Jaden?
Through you, I'll maybe just add, just further to that last comment from Councillor Irwin is certainly we will take lessons learned from this project and these experiences and apply them to other projects, especially that being the Queen Street project. We're still, we have an opportunity with the design not being finalized yet to make sure that lessons learned and things we encountered here won't happen there. And we have the same engineering consultant as well, so that should translate over as well.
Thank you. If there's no other questions, I will say I did expect a cost overrun on this. Not this high a cost overrun, but I did know when they changed all the aggregates to get them up to grade and up to the present code, that it was going to be higher than I expected, but this is a little higher than I still expected. But I want to say on the positive side, it is nice to see the curbs on the downtown area and seeing it buttoned up. And so we'll get this move forward. So we have a recommendation in front of us. And that is that the Park Hill Water System Improvements Construction Contract value with Brex Construction be increased by 1.575 thousand or 1,575,000 for a total contract value of $9,603,987.68, excluding HST. We need a mover for that. Councillor Irwin. Councillor Canellison, all in favor? Carried. It's carried. A report from the Manager of Public Works, Finance. And it's on the capital budget reallocation.
Evening, Your Worship, members of council. This on the agenda, I have a report here, which is essentially recommending that the council increase the capital budget for a new tag float trailer, and secondly, for the purchase of a pickup truck for the Public Works Division. In this report, I've identified the need, and to provide a little bit of background with respect to those needs, specifically with our float, we utilize, as a reminder, council may recall at budget, I described that we use our tag float for hauling around our excavator. Primarily, it is used for responding to water main breaks, et cetera, like that. And also it's used for a lot of our drainage and ditching projects. So in any event, in the budget, there's $40,000. And the reason that there needs to be an increase with respect to that is I originally budgeted to replace the float for like. Our existing float's a 21-ton float. And with the excavator and all the buckets and the other equipment that we float from site, from the shop to site, the additional capacity on that float would be a good idea. And so in doing so, I attempted to get pricing and tried to work within the budget that I have. However, a 30-ton float is in the vicinity of $55,000. That's kind of the cheapest one that I could find. So in any event, that's the reason why I'm asking for the increase with respect to the float. The second need that I have in our report is pickup truck. Public Works Division is a 2016 Ford F-250. It's got 276,000 kilometers on it, and it's severely corroded. And I'm not certain that it's going to make it to the next budget cycle. So I have that also in the report here for your review. So also, in order to achieve this, I provided a discussion on some unspent capital that we have in the Public Works Division. And so table one basically summarizes the unspent capital. And to summarize, acquiring these two fleet items or increasing the budget to obtain these items can be completed with the existing capital budget without any additional increases. So essentially that can be handled with the existing 2023 capital budget. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions that council may have with respect to this report.
Thank you, Vance. Questions? Councillor Keough?
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Vance, I don't have a problem with the float trailer, so it is what it is. But do you honestly think you can get a pickup truck for 50,000? I guess that's what I'm getting at.
The reason that the quick answer to that question, Councillor, through your worship, is yes. I've had some successes with acquiring pickup trucks that are used. I know the lead times and delivery times on brand new trucks is quite long. So if I can find a brand new one, I could.
Well, let me know because I need one too.
Right.
I think that's. I just think that that's an underestimation for a pickup truck. But if you were seeking the used route, sure, I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Canellis.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Did I understand correctly? You're looking at a used pickup for the work department?
Well, if I put in the report that it's new or used. However, if I could find, again, if I could find a truck that's within that budget, I've done some research already, and to get one used, yes, that's what I would recommend it with you.
Would it not be more appropriate to perhaps extend the budget somewhat and buy new? Because used, we don't know what we're getting so much, do we? I mean, we have a lot of miles on it, the shorter lifespan, et cetera, et cetera.
Through your worship, I can appreciate that. However, the situation that we find with our division is that our trucks are extremely old, and in the future, I can definitely budget for brand new pickup trucks and so forth, and I can assure council that I will bring estimates accordingly. However, I find myself where I'm playing a little bit of catch up, and in doing so, with getting something that's a year or two old, I can play a little bit of catch up with respect to the fleet, and then in the future, as those trucks need to be replaced, I can then definitely budget for brand new ones, and I can bring those estimates to council. So,
Okay, thank you.
Other question? Other comments from council? No other questions? At this time, we do have a recommended motion that council approve the budget increase for the new tag float trailer in the 2023 Public Works, and that council approve the purchase of a new or used pickup truck for the Public Works Division. Moved by Councillor Nerda, seconded by Councillor Keough. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Vance.
thank you.
Our next one is a report from Economic Development Communications Coordinator, the Main Street reopening event. Good news, reopening event.
Yes, good evening, your worship and members of council. I am recommending that you receive this report regarding the Park Hill Main Street event. As we know, we're coming to completion of the Park Hill Main Street water main construction project. And I've coordinated with a group of business owners and community members an event to celebrate the completion and to also promote within North Middlesex and outside of our borders that Main Street is open for business again. So the goal of the event is to create awareness in North Middlesex and the surrounding region. We as the committee of business owners and community members have come up with some ideas to make the event something that will appeal to people to come, and hopefully by doing that and increasing the traffic, we can also generate some sales for the business owners on the main street that have been dealing with a lot of low numbers, obviously, since the project started. We're hoping also with the development of a sponsorship package to present an ask to the project partners for money to cover the cost of the event. The project partners being the construction companies and the contractors, which will offset the cost of the event, and then any additional funds over and above those costs could go towards a downtown beautification project once the project is complete. So we've decided that Saturday, August 19th, we sort of had to wait until we were sure that the project would be complete. And we understood at that time that it would be closer to the end of July. And so we decided, because the Park Hill Optimist Car Show is taking place on the 19th, and as well the North Middlesex Market would be taking place on the 19th, that it would be a good time to collaborate with those two groups, and then also appeal to more people to come to the event. So what we're looking at is on the highlighted yellow areas, you can see in front of the municipal office, and then King Street from Park Hill Main Street to Ann Street, and then Ann Street halfway down until the houses are on that street. We're proposing to block that area off to allow for extra parking on Ann Street, and in front of the municipal office will be where the event will take place. And we met last night, and the market coordinator and the Optimist Club we all sort of agreed that the market would go down along the street, so the vendors would run down along the municipal office as far as they need to, and then the parking, extra parking would go from there. So the Optimist Car Show is in Coronation Park. So the cars park within the boundary of the park, and they also use the Leisure Club for vendors. And we checked at our meeting last night with the coordinator of the car show that that area isn't going to conflict at all with their event. So the event itself will have kids activities. We're thinking of having some inflatable equipment, perhaps a magician, and some coordination with the YMCA for kids activities. We are also looking at booking some live music. And so we do have one local entertainer secured with another one that's prospectively secured. And then also a beer tent, which we're pretty close to confirming with a local group to run through their group. And then we would profit share with them on the proceeds of that. The beer tent would be running from 1 to 5 p.m. So in the morning, the market runs from 8:30 till 1. And then after that, that's when the beer tent will open and close down at 5. So as I mentioned, the sponsorship package that we've put together targets the project partners, and so the contributions will go to the cost of the event, and the surplus could go towards a streetscaping plan. And that package will be rolled out by Jaden, who will be in touch with the project partners and his points of contact. So this is just kind of an overview of the sponsorship plan. The platinum level coming in at $10,000. You can see all of the value that is delivered with that sponsorship level. So there are a number of areas where there's like legacy notoriety, as far as like having an article on the website and having logo placement in our recreation areas. We also plan to have some media on site to give announcements, and there will be banners throughout the municipality. As a platinum sponsor, they would be the title sponsor, which would mean that the event would be presented by whomever decides to go for that level of sponsorship. So the sponsorship levels go down from there, gold, silver to bronze. And it's pretty clear what those values include. So this is just a rough budget of what the costs look like. I put this together before I met with the committee last night, and there were some people on the committee that let me know that these numbers might be a little low. The kids' activities could be a little bit higher than that. But as far as everything else, it looks like that's pretty much the cost of what the event would cost. So I'm happy to take any questions about that.
Just a comment before I turn it over. Were they also talking about sidewalk sales and things like that?
Sorry, yes, that's a big part of the event, actually. So we'd be doing some paid advertising as well that would promote the sidewalk sales with the business owners. So we would definitely make sure that each business owner would be aware of this event coming up so that they can prepare ahead of time to create promotion of some sort, and then that would be advertised through the municipality. We'd be looking at paid targeted social media advertising, also some radio and or newspaper, depending on what our budget looks like.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Questions from council? Councilor Canellison.
Yeah, they have a couple of questions. When's the Park Hill Fair? Is it not around the same time?
Through your mayor to the councillor, the Parkdale Fair is mid-August. I think it's the weekend before.
So you're thinking like the 12th? The 12th of August?
Uh,
Because I thought it was already on the 19th.
I thought it was the 11th.
Brandon, do you have the answer to that? You'll have.
Yeah, the Parko Fall Fair is the 11th, 12th, the
11th.
weekend after the August one.
Okay, I'm pretty sure though that the Legion Golf Tournament is the 19th. Quite certain of that.
Yes, I think you're correct. Yeah.
Okay.
We wanted to kind of capitalize on the traffic being downtown because of the car show already, because we're trying to support the downtown businesses. So we wanted to make sure that whatever was happening was in the downtown floor.
Okay. And the only other comment I have is with the project partner sponsorship, I would caution you to be extra careful in negotiations that may be added on to overall project costs.
Yeah. Noted. Thank
Any
you.
other questions, council? Deputy Mayor Hodgins.
Through Mary Rob to, like the idea of looking for sponsorships. I think it's good. Will you, I hope you won't wait for them to come to you. Will you be trying to solicit some of them? And I'm thinking someone's like Rex or or the Far Hall, like those kind of people. They help, well, once they helped us out, that's the wrong way of putting it, but maybe they'll give back to our community because of what they did.
Yeah, through your mayor to the councillor, that's exactly what we're trying to do, is to reach out to the people that we've been working with, such as the company that you suggested there. We do have a couple of people that have already mentioned that they would like to sponsor that aren't even related to the construction project. So there's definitely potential, and Jaden and myself will be working together to reach out to those contacts. And there's a deadline of July 7th to have those commitments in so that we can set up our budget and start booking things. Thank you.
Excellent. Other questions? Other comments? Looks good. Look
you.
forward to it. You notice we are not closing anything on Main Street.
Yeah.
Main Street, it is a reopening of Main Street, and but I think that sidewalk sale event will be a good part of this.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, just a comment to it, it'd be worthwhile asking my FM if they would come on site and do
Yes,
some broadcasting from here.
we will be getting some kind of radio station on site here
Excellent.
to announce it. So,
Perfect.
yeah, hopefully the budget will allow for that.
Perfect. All right. The next item is payment of accounts. Oh, sorry, we need a motion to accept that report. Counselor Nerda, Counselor Irwin, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Go ahead, payment of accounts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report in front of you outlines the municipality's expenses for the period of June 2nd to June 15th, totaling $3,517,994.89. Before opening the floor to questions, I did receive 2 questions via email. The first one pertaining to the Hyde Park equipment payment of $2,067. The description was for the purchase of chainsaw. So the question was, how many chainsaws did we get? It was for 2 chainsaws, one 14-inch and one 20-inch. The second question was pertaining to the invoice to Canada Heavy Equipment Training for the amount of $3,228. The description also referred to chainsaws. It was not for purchase of chainsaw, but it was for training for 15 individuals on chainsaw and concrete saw. I now open the floor to questions.
Questions from council. Councilor Canellison.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Yeah, specifically for the chainsaw with the concrete training. And I know we talked about this at the last council meeting, but this format doesn't allow training components to be included in the invoice because all I saw was a chainsaw concrete. I thought $3,000 is a lot of money for a chainsaw. You know,
As stipulated in the last meeting, this is through the new accounting software.
Yes.
We are experimenting with the report that we will be presenting to council. This one unfortunately does cut off the description to a certain amount of letters. So we are still experimenting on the format that we will be bringing forward in the future.
great. I look forward to the improvement. Thank you.
Any other questions? Payment of accounts? Seeing none, we have a recommendation in front of us. We'll receive it for information. Councilor Nerda, Councilor Daigle, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Committee reports, Lake Huron Primary,
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
ABCA.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Rupp. A couple of interesting things. I think Jaden was there as well. One of the things I found kind of interesting was that Salvo Bayfield is now engaging in some situations for consulting on and how to prevent the runoff from getting into the lakes, which led to a whole discussion on the contamination of the lakes. And the indication was that the agricultural runoff is 65%. So I asked, of course, given that all the cottages along the lakeshore, whether or not there's any contribution from those lakeshore cottages into the E. coli in the lakes. And they said that's indeed about 35%, which I thought was fairly substantial, given that they can only monitor what's in the ravines and not necessarily on the lakeshore itself. Other than that, the one other thing that I found interesting was that the foundation does have a bursary for students that are attending in natural resources studies, post-secondary studies, and I thought that was something that I'd like to announce. Other than that, I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Irwin.
Yes, I just have one question and it's on the agenda for, is it June agenda? Conservation Authority Act update. Is there anything on that we should be aware of as council with the pending changes from the province?
No, all they really updated us on, but to my recollection, was that they continued to meet with municipalities and developing the memorandum of understandings that we signed. There's nothing specific on it. I think that I think the reports are available later date to be read, for the discussions that we had, but nothing.
All right. Any other questions on that? Blue Water Recycling.
Yes, Mayor Rupp, I did receive just a notification from the members meeting, and I sent it out Monday, but I think it has failed to go out, so I should send that out again to all council members.
Okay.
Get a copy.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it.
I'll get that out.
Okay, thank you. Economic Development.
We have a meeting tomorrow night at the community room here at Town Hall.
Okay. Local School Advisory.
We had a planning meeting with the council friend and the deputy mayor to talk about the best way to pursue to re-engage the committee.
All right, thank you. Recreation Committee.
Nothing at this time. Changed.
Okay, thank you. Policy Committee, we met today, but there's no policies here tonight for anyone. Fire Committee.
Just a recommendation as identified by Chief Bennett earlier in this council meeting.
All right, thank you. Budget Committee, nothing other than we're getting another pickup. And Committee Development Fund, Community Development Fund Committee. Nothing there. All right, correspondence, City of Quint West, reno evictions. Whoever came up with that must have been like sesquicentennial. Receive and consider report, receive and file. Township of Ryerson, aerodromes, receive and file. Township of Bradford, right to repair. A motion to support. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Knellison? Discussion on it? No discussion, in favor? Carried. Thank you. And other correspondence, Middlesex London Board of Health update from May 18th, and that is just to receive and file. Other and urgent business. Estelle, did you have something? Another business? No?
It's just an update to update council to inform them that the Trillium Foundation grant application has been submitted for the washroom renovations at both Carnegie Hall and Carnegie Library and the old town hall.
All right. AMO, how many people have registered for AMO? Or we need, if we're going to register for AMO, we need to get it done. Correct?
Correct. Your worship, Donna did send out an email to all members of council asking what their preferences were for or which package that they would like to register for. And I'm assuming, I know she's received from 3. I don't know the others. No, it may be 4.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Any other business from anyone? Councillor Daigle.
2 items. The first item I'd like to talk to is our event a week ago Saturday for the Discover North Middlesex. I think it was very well done, and I'd like to compliment our staff and the committee that worked on it. It was very well done.
If I may add to that, your worship, those compliments go to Natalie because she was by far the lead for that event.
Great event. Go ahead.
There is one other item I'd like to revisit, and we talked about it when Darcy was here, and that was the insurance for counselors. I think we need to look into that for council members for that type of coverage, and I'd also like to have us look back into the benefits for counselors. If we intend to bring young people onto this floor to do these jobs as us older people fall off the end of the assembly line, we need to make it attractive, and the cost isn't that high. So I'd like to get those 2 items revisited and maybe a report back to council at what it might cost us.
Thank you. Councillor Irwin.
I support that wholeheartedly.
I'm glad to hear that. I think we were quite abrupt with that. Give it some more thought. So any other business from anyone? Just for the public, I'll let you know that next meeting, we are going to start at 4:00 with a conversation, a couple of hours for the recreational master plan, just for council to have a look at that and their comments on it as well. Public has made a lot of comments, and congratulations to Brandon and to your staff and everything for getting this far. One last piece of other business. We can understand why possibly one councillor is in a little more less than happy mood today because he has found another year. It's Councillor Knellison's birthday today. So you're too old. You've had enough birthdays. It's not that special anymore. Anyways, congratulations. Happy birthday. No. Okay, no other business. Deferred items. We aren't scheduled to speak on any of these this meeting. I believe 13.7 next meeting, Jaden, you're bringing something through. And that is on the 3-way stop for next meeting. Okay. Communication, including county council. Nothing has come through yet. Reading of the bylaws.
Thank you. So we have 062 to 068 of 2023, excluding number 66. That was for the firework services. So first and second reading.
First and second. Councillor, question, go ahead.
I looked at the map and I tried to read the directions of this road closure allowance, but I'm not exactly sure where this road is.
So as I was aware, this was a road allowance that had been historically closed, but we had no record of it because it dated back so far. We brought it to a previous meeting and it was approved, but we received more legal opinions on it. So for it to be filed, we brought it back, adding those. It's at 911 address 882 Park Hill Drive.
So this is just cleaning up the paperwork on this bylaw, correct?
Is that the extension of the Sylvan Road?
I don't believe so. Yes, thank you.
Okay, anyways, all right. We had a seconder on that. I think it was Council Crowe. In favor? Carried.
Okay, then third and final, excluding 066.
Deputy Mayor Hodgins, Councillor Daigle, all in favor? Carried. So just one thing left and we're looking to adjourn. Councillor Nerda and Councillor Keel.